Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. This is another episode of Founder Talk series in Data Tech Talk. And today we have a very special guest with us, Karel. Karel, welcome. Welcome. And Karel
Hi.
is the founder of Cumulayo, and I will link his details in the post so you will be able to contact with him directly if you need to. But Carol, I would love to hear a little bit about your journey. It has been more than 5 years that you're running Cumulayo, and I would love to know a little bit about how you started, initially your profession, your previous profession, and then how you started and what made you think about Cumulayo as well going forward. Yeah.
Yeah, glad to talk about that. Hi, Shama. So my name is Karel. I think so. If we say 5 years of Cumulayo, I would say we started commercializing, let's say mid 2016, and then with the product we were aiming for, let's say mid 2017. So it's always difficult to talk in terms of years, but because I've been busy with it for a longer time, but sometimes just garage work or ideation. And then when it really started, I would say was 2017. But so my previous background, I studied economical engineering, although my parents always said you have to do civil engineering, computer science, because I was always busy doing computer stuff, building websites for, at that time, the Mars rover, I think when I was 11 or 12 or something like that. But you're rebellious, so you never study what your parents tell you to study. But always been busy with that. So in the end, I did understand that they were right. So I went into computer sciences, took a job more in consulting, and always worked in the field of analytics and data visualization, more in consulting services, early days for bigger companies, banks, insurance companies, governmental agencies, and always working on data-driven decision-making. And what was interesting at the time is I had a lot of friends, but also family around me that had their own business or started their own business. And they saw that data-driven decision-making is extremely important, but they didn't know how to start with it or what was important. And so every time they came to me, Karel, what can I do? Is there software I can use? What's the best thing for me? And they all knew their data very well, but they weren't technically proficient into setting it up themselves. So it felt like your aunt always saying, "Can you know something from computers because you're working in that? Can you install my printer or something?" So in the beginning, it felt like, why is everybody bugging me with this? But then at a certain point in time, I said, yeah, there isn't a good solution for people to not only bring data-driven decision-making to their company, but also to their stakeholders, to their clients. And so that was the start of Cumulayo. At that time, I was working with Haroen, my co-founder and CTO at Cumulayo, and I think we all we both had the same idea, and so after a while we started talking, shouldn't we build something around that? We have the expertise, but it's a big market. It's an existing market, so we had to take our time. So it took over a year to have our minimum viable product, and then again we first started talking to other companies before we did anything. But very soon we saw that we were onto something, and so we brought our third co-founder, which is Thomas. I know him already for a long time. I think maybe since he was born, even. And we sort of stopped seeing each other for a while because he went to Dublin. He started working for Google, but we kept in touch online. And so at a certain point in time, we said we need somebody to help us on the business development side. And then it was when Thomas joined us. So it's a story that has multiple inflection points, I would say.
Yeah, no, that's really great. Is there a story behind the name as well? Cumulayo? What's the story?
Yeah, it's a weird name. In fact, when Haroen and I were busy, we started participating to some pitch competitions. And one of them was a competition. I think 600 companies entered. From those, 24 were selected to move on to the second round. And then from those 24, 8 were selected and got a prize. And from those 4, they went to the finals. And so we did the whole track. But then in the end, they said, yeah, but what's the name of your company? We need a name, we need a logo, but we didn't have anything at that time. We just had our minimum viable product. So it took us 4 hours to design a logo and then think of a name. And so Cumul.io comes from accumulating data, but also Cumulus, so cloud, because we're a cloud-first platform. And then, yeah, of course, IO from input, output. I think at that time it was popular for startups to have that domain name.
Yeah. Yeah, awesome. And in terms, because you touched upon product and how you came from MVP to understanding the product to getting the market and so on, a lot of founders struggle with product market fit. So when did you realize that you actually have a product market fit?
Well, I'm always discussing with my co-founders on what is product market fit. I think there's no 1 and no 0. So it always there's no yes or no. You see that people use your product. You see that more people start using your product. You see moments where the things you did before are now scaling automatically, and from that you go on further and further. So I wouldn't say that there was one moment in time where we said there's product market fit, but there were different moments where, for example, the first thing we had was a dashboard editor. So you could quickly drag and drop and put dashboards together, and everybody really liked it. But very soon people came to us and said, yeah, what you guys are doing is great, but we want it in our platform. And it was already something that that was in our mind when we created Cumul.io, but the fact that external people told us we want this in our platform without us telling them what we were planning to do confirmed that that there was a demand for that. And then, of course, seeing it in production in so many other platforms just shows that it works. And from there on, you start looking more into the machinery and starting and start to optimize and improve on that. But I wouldn't say there's just one single moment where we said, now we know it will work.
Yeah. No, that makes sense, really. And it's a very difficult question for most of the founders because things keep evolving as well in terms of demand and the type of use cases. Now, talking about use cases, I would love to know what kind of use cases Cumul.io caters to. Obviously, visualizations, data visualization, but within the data visualizations, are you seeing a lot of subsets, and what kind of subsets?
Yeah, so I think in the market of visualization or analytics, it's a huge market. It's also a crowded market, lots of players in there. And so we pick our battles. What we do is we focus on embedded analytics. So meaning that we are a building block that people can use inside their own platform to cater data visualizations to their customers and their stakeholders. So it's a whole different thing with internal reporting platforms like Tableau, Qlik, Power BI, Looker, etc., where you're creating reports just for your manager or for your board. So internal data and internal reports. What we do is aiming at stakeholders or external people like clients, customers for them. So in essence, what we in our platform, our customers create dashboards and they embed them in their own software in a multi-tenant way, in the sense that people can only see their data. And so we allow them to bring data-driven decision-making to their end users. And I think it matters even more if you look at what's happening today. You see that data-driven companies are leading the pack. Even in difficult times, they're able to create sustainable growth. But you also see that in periods of uncertainty and definitely in periods of remote working, People are looking for insights in their data. They're looking into understanding what's happening, and they want to act upon those insights. And so as a web platform, as a SaaS company, our customers, who are also web platforms or SaaS companies, they cater to that. They give their end customers the insights they deserve. They let them slice and dice through their data and act upon that. And so that's really the niche where we're working in embedded analytics. And the fact that we just chose that specific niche and double down on everything that is in there, I think is makes us very successful in that area.
Indeed, it does. And in terms of the industries, obviously, there's probably a wide range of applications, a wide range of industries. Have you seen some trends within specific industries on how they utilize your tool?
Yes and no. So our main focus is other product platforms, other web platforms. Specifically, today we're targeting SaaS platforms. And what we see is all platforms that get from their end customers, we want to have insights into the data we're putting into, are looking for a solution like ours. And either they can build it themselves. It's quite complex, takes a lot of time, a lot of development power, and often steers them away from things that are at least equally important, or they can use a building block. So often web platforms trying to win time and trying to cater to the needs of their customers and growing in that sense. There's different domains where the speed of digitization or the speed of data-driven decision making has evolved. So we do cater different domains in a different way, in the sense that for some it's more helping them understand the possibilities that there are. For others, where they already know the problems but not yet the solutions, we're helping them into how setting it up. And then from in the domains where I would say they're already very far ahead in everything that's data-driven decision making. And I think that's, for example, in the field of performance marketing, in the field of sales as well. A lot of has been optimized. A lot of is data driven. There, it's more helping them getting to the next level, in the sense that what we see today is that a lot of people focus on creating dashboards to share insight in a visual way, to understand visually what's happening. But dashboards should be so much more than just visual representations. If we're talking about actionability of data, then it means that the dashboard should be a tool inside the platform that you're using that can drive action in that platform. And so, for example, in marketing technology, it could be that you have a dashboard with an overview of your campaigns that you do, with the success rate of those campaigns, but also looking at the people you targeted. And so you could slice and dice to come up to a new target list for a specific campaign in a dashboard. But then from that dashboard, already save that target list or send a campaign already to these people. So that drives action immediately coming from a dashboard. And so I think that's crucial going forward. And that's also how we are really redefining embedded analytics.
Yeah, absolutely. And in terms of like the kind of, let's say when we are dealing with cloud or SaaS-based tools, there's always a challenge in terms of not only hosting, but security, but because you are, getting the data out of their systems and onto the cloud. What kind of challenges do you face there?
Well, I think that's a really important one. And it also, you can also see how we treat it by the way that before we started building Cumul.io, we created our company and we made sure we had everything in place in terms of processes, in terms of data transfer, because you're dealing with data that can be very yeah, exactly. And so that means that if you look at partners where you're going to have storage, it should be ISO 27001 compliant or SOC 2 compliant. And so you always look at that. If we, most of our customers, I would say, leverage upon their own databases and their own APIs. So data is only in transit through Cumul.io, which I think is a good approach as well. but at every step of the way, it should be treated as the most sensitive and in the most secure way. And so we're doing that on multiple levels, going from where it's stored, going how it is going via in transit. Also educating some of our clients in setting up their databases and keeping them secure. Can be via tunneling, can be via virtual private cloud, can be just via configuration. So I think education is also a part of it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Data privacy is a big topic, especially with the cloud-based companies and SaaS-based companies as well. So the other kind of question that I wanted to ask you was around fundraising, because there's a lot of startup founders who often watch these videos as well, the founder talk videos. I would love to know, congratulations, first of all. Recently, you had a big round, which is around 3.5 million euros. And I think it was led by Excelio Capital, LRM, and SmartFin. So could you tell us a little bit more about your journey of fundraising as well? So starting from the seeds, and then also, what challenges you faced so that our audience can have some tips from you as well.
I'm a first-time founder, so that changes things already. I think if you're doing it for a second time, you already know a couple of things. Maybe important to know is, so we started the company from Belgium. We always looked at being a global player because Belgium is way too small to build software like ours. That can also be a handicap in terms of fundraising, because we're working from a small company. We're going into an existing, according to some very mature market. So there's heavy competition. They call it a red ocean, etc. And while we had a very specific idea how we would approach that market, and we knew that there were lots of opportunities, that doesn't mean that VC or business angels saw it the same way. And we often, I think it's important to pitch to everybody what you're doing, what you're going for, what's your vision, what's your mission. You can never do it enough. But I think in Belgium we were sometimes disappointed that some VCs wouldn't see the huge opportunity that was there. So at a specific point in time, I said to Haroen, I'm stopping doing all these things. I'm just going to pitch because it's way more easier. We're getting more clients. It's not that we need the money today. It would help us to accelerate a lot, but we're losing more growth because us focusing on getting VCs on board than not working and improving the platform. And so I think we were very lucky in 2017, and it was just through pitching that they got to know us. But SmartFin was a seed investor. And the good thing about it is when I was talking to Thomas de Put, he's now in our board from SmartFin. He immediately understood what we were aiming for and what we were going for, and he understood the economics behind it. And just from the first conversation, we knew, okay, they will understand why we're doing it in the way that we're doing it, and it helped us not only get more credibility, because if you have a funding round, people start thinking, yeah, they should be onto something, and we were onto something. But also it helps you in taking a little bit more risk, because up until then we've been bootstrapping the company, and we were adding people when we got the money to add people. And with the seed round, we were able to double the team very quickly, and of course the growth followed immediately. Then this year, I think we were very close to closing it up already in March, but everybody knows that COVID happened, and so we decided to wait a bit, because we didn't need it, but at the same time, I think it's a good time to raise is the time when you don't need it and when you see the growth opportunities. So we always kept it in the back of our head, and we started talking. But we knew as well that April, March would be very difficult for VCs to confirm into signing, even though they all said, yeah, no, we're still opening, we're still open to doing deals. I think that was less the case. But we kept in touch, and with Axeleo and with LRM, in fact, it happened a bit the same way like with Smartchain. We were explaining what we are doing, and they were answering in the way that we would answer the questions ourselves. So we immediately understood that they knew how we would approach things, and that makes it very easy. And that doesn't mean that I haven't spoken to at least 60 times the amount of people. But I think it's good because it helps you practice your pitch. It's important that people start to getting to know you, especially when you're growing. And so I wouldn't say it has been an easy trip, but we chose very diligently and always at the terms we wanted. And so sometimes that meant also saying no to a huge amount of money just because you don't like how, just because it's not on your terms.
Yeah, absolutely agree. And that's very important for founders to know as well. One thing that I noticed is your pricing is usage based. And this is very interesting. It's not based on the number of users or the number of end customers who are using the platform, but it's usage based. Could you explain a little bit about the reasoning behind that strategy?
Yeah, I think it also clearly shows why we're aiming at embedded why we're in the field of embedded analytics and not internal reporting, because all the tools of internal reporting, they're seat based. How many people are building your on your or creating dashboards? In our platform, it's about giving your customers, so our clients and their clients, the power of analyzing data and looking at it. But our clients are SaaS platforms or web platforms, and they don't know today how many users they have tomorrow. We don't want to punish them for growing their users, of course. If it's used a lot, it means that it is worth, and we can grow together with them. So I think what's important there is we have 6 values internally in our company, but the most important one is empower the success of others. And why is that? Because we're a building block inside other platforms, and I think our pricing also shows that, because if you're usage based, if they have success using your building block, then you should have success as well, and so you grow together. And that's why we never do it seed based, but just usage based. And I think it's important as well for if you're aiming for embedded analytics, because the other way around is just creating a lot of friction and creating a lot of uncertainty. Because if you don't know today how many users you will have tomorrow, then how will you do your pricing seat based? It will become a hell of a lot of work for your administration to always acquire new licenses or then stop older licenses. So it's not a way that could work. And there's a lot of companies already that already did the same thing, but for other problems. We could look at Stripe for payment solutions. We could look at Twilio for communication. They don't price per seat as well, and they're also building blocks for solving a complex issue in other web platforms. So we definitely learned from them as well.
Awesome. This sounds amazing. Well, we're almost near the end, so I just wanted to thank you, Karel, for for coming online today and for sharing all the details and all the tips for our founders as well. So guys who are watching, this is Karel Callens from Cumulayo. He's the founder, and along with Haroen as well as Thomas, he founded Cumulayo quite a few years back, but right now they have around 3.5 million euros worth of funding raised from really well-known investors and VCs as well. And really thank you, Karel, for being here today. And I hope to see you guys around expanding and growing and leading the markets very soon.
Yeah, and if anybody wants to know more about it, tomorrow we have an event running. So I think it's still possible to register. I'll send you the link. So if people are interested, they can still register. I think it's still possible, but let's see.
All right, no worries at all. I'll post it. And thank you so much, everyone. Take care. Bye.
Bye.